Well, the pregnant skies finally opened up and delivered precipitation, much needed precipitation to Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory. As a result, it's 28 degrees this morning, very cool and very nice. Good morning and welcome to Sunrise Daily. I'm Maupe Ogun Yusuf.
Indeed, and then the air is filled with this lovely smell of petrichor. It's beautiful in the nation's capital and a nice relief from the heat we've been dealing with. Good morning and welcome. I'm Kayla Magwa.
Well, this morning, we're not going to be focusing on the FCT. We're taking you all the way to Ondo State, to a place that used to be called a Mecca of sorts, political Mecca, if you like, where the Old Action Group, yes, a political party, was formed. This is the palace of the Olowo of Owo in Ondo State. We understand that this palace, which used to be regarded as the biggest palace in Africa, I imagine that by now quite a number of other palaces might have been built to outshine it. But this one was constructed in the year 1340. And we understand it's not just the building, but where the palace sits itself, located on 180 acres of land. Yes, it's still sitting pretty there, looking very beautiful, very regal, and very majestic in its old history.
I mean, it is one of those places, a national monument. It was declared a national monument by the federal government in the year 2000, you know. And, you know, it's a very important cultural bit for the country, you know. The occupants by 14 Olowo of Owos who ascended the throne since the existence of the palace. And then, of course, this is the town of Owo. Someone told me this morning, I'm not going to say who, but if she wants to own up, she can, that Owo people are naturally graceful. We have a lot of beautiful people from Owo. And an attitude, I think, that maybe something happened. I don't know what it was, but for some reason it cascaded all the way down, which is why we have a lot of people who are graceful, who act graceful. Maybe it has to do with the tradition. Maybe it has to do with the way they're supposed to carry themselves in one way or the other. And I think that has impacted the way the people here carry themselves. On a lighter note, I did say before we started the show that when we catch the person who sold zinc that they used to build all these houses,
well, I think what it just tells you...
We will flog the person on the street.
No, why would we want to do that? It just goes to tell you, Kayla, just how rich in history this town is. This town is really old, and one of the ways you know a truly old city that has aged very gracefully, as you can see, even from the outlay of the city, is the roofs. So you see that these are people who have known modernity for a very long time. And, you know, the zinc is just testament to just how long they've been there. But as you did say, yes, I'll own up, the people of Owo that I know are very, very graceful people, very well dignified. You should see them when they dance. Kayla. Their dance is like no other I have seen in Yoruba land.
Oh, really?
Yes, very, very similar to that of the Edo people. They share very strong...
Oh, yeah, that's another thing about this place, isn't it? They share a lot of history with the people of Edo State. Very similar in the way that their cultures...
Especially the people of Benin.
I think maybe it's marriage and intermarriages and things. So because of that, a lot of cross-carpeting of cultures. It was a very historical place, 1300s.
Yes, can you imagine?
1300s.
Built that palace.
That was when that palace was built.
And today it's still standing. And I think that's why for a number of people, when that attack occurred in the church in Owo, it was quite significant. We also know that one of the former governors of the state, Rotimi Akeredolu, was from Owo as well. As I did say, people who have invested in education, they've invested in growth, so to speak, and this is testament to that. But let's not get carried away this morning. We just wanted to bring you a piece of this beauty of our country called Nigeria.
Absolutely.
We sometimes wish it was all about beauty, and we could go on and on about beauty. But this morning, we have to take you also, when you've taken this in a bit, to Borno State. Borno State has now become a source of concern, and it's not just to us. It's also to the government and the people of the state. People are wondering what exactly is going on, especially when you take into context the State Executive Council meeting that held yesterday and some of the outcome from that particular meeting. This morning, almost all the papers are awash with what the governor of the state, Babagana Zulum, has to say. He says his state, that's Borno State, is losing ground to terrorists. They want to be able to farm. This season, now we're entering the rainy season. A lot of farmers should be going back to their farms. They've been trying their best to resettle people, even getting them all the way back from Cameroon and where. But somehow, just a moment now, just to get them back, you know, and then only for them to be losing them to terrorist attacks. So the big questions as to what exactly is happening in Borno
You know,
State.
listening to the governor yesterday, I think one of the first things that happened in my mind was fear. It did bring fear, and I know that at some point he had to at some point say this is the situation. That's one of the things about Professor Zulum, is that he will say it exactly as it is. And it's coming at a time when we're looking at what's happening in Plateau State. We're also looking at what's happening in Kebbi State. Something has shifted in the northern part of this country again. And for some reason, there are loopholes. There are places that are not being plugged. There are balls that are being dropped in this situation. And I like the fact that he actually spoke up about this. Now, it means that everyone knows that the governor has said something is wrong. And other governors, too, should also maybe start to speak up. It is time for this to end. It has lasted way too long.
Indeed, Kayla, let's quickly go to Borno and, you know, take a summary of what transpired yesterday from the State Executive Council meeting.
The recent escalation of Boko Haram attacks across the state is a matter of utmost concern. There is urgent need for aggressive military action and actionable intelligence to counter the insurgency. The recent attacks on Savongari, Damboa, Wulgo, Baga, and Mungono point to the need to up our ante in confronting the Boko Haram insurgency decisively and swiftly. I call on our armed forces to not only mount checkpoints and guard our towns and villages. I also call on our armed forces to take the battle to the enemy. I also call on our armed forces to take the battle to the enemy. We should not grant breathing space to the Boko Haram to regroup, rearm, and carry out attacks on our territory. By engaging in the relentless patrols, picketing, and decapitation missions, our troops should defeat and end the insurgency in time so that our recovery plan will progress without let or hindrance. The resettlement plan of the Borno State government is in high gear, with new towns and villages earmarked for return of our IDPs to their ancestral homes. Without tight and efficient security, our resettlement campaign will not succeed. Therefore, I implore on you to support my government's drive to restore the dignity of our people. The Borno State government will continue to work closely with the armed forces to execute our development and peace-building program. We are deeply conscious of the nexus between development, security, and peace. Hence, as we invest in critical infrastructure, we are all opening new avenues for our citizens to engage in agriculture and sustainable livelihood. All this will not be feasible without resourcing and empowering our security agencies to secure our territory and safeguard citizens' lives and properties.
Well, that's what we're going to be talking about this morning, the security situation, not just in Borno State alone, but we'll start from there to other parts of the country. And we're being joined this morning by a former director of the Department of State Services, Mr. Dennis Amakri, who joins us virtually all the way from New York. Mr. Amakri, it's so good to see you on the program this morning. Good morning and welcome. Well, I know it's really early where you are. Thank you so much for staying up to speak with us this morning on the program.
Good morning, and thank you for having me.
I want to ask you, I know that, yes, you're not in the country as of now, but I'm sure you must have been following events happening in different parts of the country. You must have heard of what has happened in Jos. Before that, a very significant one happened in Edo State, specifically in Uromi. And then just yesterday, it would seem that the governor is reporting, the governor of Borno State is reporting that, you know, there is a rollback on the gains that we have made against the fight against insurgency. I don't know what your thoughts are in terms of what is happening, because the National Security Advisor continues to insist that security agencies are not dropping the ball. So, but we're losing lives, and we're seeing that there is, you know, these incidences happening. What do you think is afoot, you know, with all of these incidences that we're recording?
Well, thank you very much for having me. Yes, yesterday I was listening to the Chief of Army Staff, and I was really sad because going through what happened in Uromi, the one in Plateau, the killings in Plateau, and now, of course, Borno State, it's really sad because, let's say, the criminal economy is still booming, and then, of course, the security agencies are overstretched in what they are doing. And it becomes a situation where, you know, we are just trying to run in circles. Yesterday, it was very, very instructive when I heard the Chief of Army Staff said in Borno that, you know, they are doing their best, but he will pray that we now look for political solution. That was very heavy, because a military general is saying that we're not going to fight this again, and then, of course, let's do it politically. So, and it means a lot. It means a lot, because we've left it for the security people, while this political solution, which it deserves, is still hanging in there.
That's very significant. I'm glad that you also highlighted that particular issue, because that came up in a conversation we were having yesterday. We had quite a number of, we had two security experts in the studio, and they were talking about how, you know, we needed to find a political solution, that this conflict will end, especially with regards to what was happening in Plateau State, that this conflict will end when, you know, all the parties agree that the conflict will end. And that raised controversy, that raised a number of questions. But yesterday, we now heard the Chief of Army Staff, you know, echo just what you said. And he said that, you know, he has had a meeting, and as you rightly highlighted, that you're thinking of a political solution, which raises questions. Because people say, what exactly could be the politics around a group of people coming into a community or going into communities, because about 5 communities were affected in Bokos local government area, sporadically shooting into the air, killing 50 people, burning houses, about 300 of them, displacing 700 people, and we say at the end of the day that it's politics at the bottom of it. What sort of politics are we looking at here?
You know, when you look at the situation in Nigeria, you find out that the threats that face the country are very, very fundamental. You know, they are fundamental, and the root causes of these threats are very simple: religion, ethnicity, you know, cultural, you know. So these particular fundamental issues have to be addressed, because when people are living together and they don't believe in the same religion, and they have to be, you know, kill each other because they don't believe in the same religion, or they are not from the same ethnic group, or they, you know, they don't believe in the same political party and stuff like that. And of course, a lot of the politicians come out to use these threats in dealing with, you know, somebody loses election and he run down to his town and say, oh, I lost it because I'm not a Nupe man, you know, and they threw me out because I'm an Igbo man, or, you know, stuff like that. So you find out that these ethnic underlining have caused a lot of problem, and they are political you know, because in fact, I can extend it to say that it is a problem caused by politicians if we have to address it properly.
It's really very sad. I can relate to what it is that you're saying, Mr. Amakri. But some people will say that isn't this about a lack of consequences? Isn't this more about a lack of consequences? Because how can anyone go to a particular place, kill 50 people? How can a group of people, you know, profile some people ethnically and burn them, burn 11 people? How can we hear what is happening in Borno State now, you know, where there are just these attacks happening? Big questions as to the capacity of the state to be able to assert itself and mete out punishment to those who are deserving of it. Isn't that more of what this is about? The capacity of the state to really, you know, push and make sure that it asserts itself?
Yes, you're very, very correct, Mogwe, because when you look at what we have in Nigeria right now, there is security and there is politics, and of course, they really don't, you know, immediately you mix it together, it brings out a product that is very, very obnoxious to the ordinary citizen, and that's what they are doing, because no consequences. You're right. There are no consequences. People do this, and instead of dealing with these people, we use political solutions. We say it's a family affair, you know. So, you know, there is the rule of law itself is not followed. So people come up, some people wake up one morning, go carry their animals to go and raid the farm, eat up all the crops, and then the owners of the farm will also go back and then start killing. You know, it is happening in a country where we have a government that sometimes overlook these things because they feel that maybe, it is cultural, it is tribal, or it is revenge.
Mr. Macri, you know, while I want to, you know, we're looking at security on a broad base, I want to, you know, also be specific, because every single situation which we have painted, particularly in the last 3 scenarios which we have now highlighted, are different. They're unique in their own way, even though when you look at it, they have common threads. They have things that would bind them together. Take a look at what happened in Edo State, in Uromi specifically. The people of Uromi said they had been complaining that there were attacks on their communities. People are unable to go to farms. Even traditional rulers seem to be, you know, making certain pronouncements in their area. And then they see these people traveling through their community, and then they see weapons on them. Big questions as to what exactly. They said they were hunters. And they carried out jungle justice, prohibited very strongly by our law. You find in Plateau State another scenario this time around, people just going up, at least from what we can see, that is what has been reported. We do not know what the underlying causes are, whether they are remote causes or something that happened very recently. It's unclear. But what we do know is that people went into the community, shooting sporadically, killing anyone, and you know, at the end of the day, 50 people were dead. They're still looking for some more people. In Borno State, the situation is a little different. The state has had to battle insurgency for some time now. Well, for over a decade, they have been at it. There have been many successes recorded, but right now it does appear that the insurgents are back and they are gaining some ground. So 3 different scenarios. I don't know whether you want to find common threads with them in terms of whether it's really a lack of consequence, whether it's about, or whether or not, as a state, we're looking away from what is actually very important.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for that. You know, it's a mix of all kinds of consequences, you know, because number one, let's take the Uromi situation, for instance. You know, there is a vigilante group that operates in the area, and the vigilante was set up because there were, killings. Some herders or all kinds of hunters that were going around killing people. And then the vigilante was set up. The vigilante has been successful. And you find out that there are other areas, even in the western states where you have Amotekun, all kinds of vigilante groups have been set up in different states in the federation. Now, this particular one, they've been doing their work until they discovered these people. And when they discovered them, they said, oh, they are going for Salah. You are going for Salah and you are carrying guns? And they said, oh, well, this must be the people we're looking for. And they went ahead and then meted a jungle justice on them. Now, what is wrong there? The wrong thing there is that they have taken the laws into their hands. Vigilantes are supposed to be regulated, but they were not. And of course they had them and they were just going about doing whatever they want to do. Originally, when they were formed, in fact, I remember when Amotekun was formed, the whole idea was that they are supposed to be hunters and they are supposed to be moving around in the bush, and if they see any kind of bandits or terrorists moving around, they should inform the police or the law enforcement agencies who will move in to take care of it. But now they are almost like the state police of those states that operate them. So they went and then killed all those people. That is wrong. And we have to, so fundamentally, the ground rules were not laid and they allowed them to operate. The one in Plateau State, you find out that, of course, it has happened. Farmers are doing their work, and then people will come and with their heads uproot all the food and eat it. And then, of course, the farmers are going to go back, and it was like a retaliatory thing, revenge. Now, if you leave it, you find out that they've killed a set of people. Those people will gather themselves again and go and retaliate again. I've been involved in stuff like this when I was in service, where we were calling farmers and herders, bring them to the table, talk to them, constantly, because you don't allow them. After a while, the animosities will grow. Who do they report to if cows come into their farm to eat? There must be somebody. There must be a very, very strong connection, a communication line to avoid all this. We go to Borno State. Borno State, Boko Haram has been there for so long. How many years? More than a decade. And then, of course, we're having foreign incursions. There are foreigners that are there. Recently, we're having all kinds of stories about USAID, where a congressman have to come out to say that they were actually financing Boko Haram through maybe third parties and stuff like that. And we have not investigated that properly. Our legislators don't say anything about it. And this continues. And these guys are coming up with, brand new arms. You heard the governor of Borno State. I was very, very sad when I listened to him. The guy was begging, actually, for aid to come to him. Because this guy, the military, our own military, according to him, require new arms and ammunition. What does that mean? We'll spend a lot of money on arms and ammunition. So, what is going on?
Indeed, Mr. Makri, that is the question of questions at this time. What is going on? You've mentioned so many of the dynamics in this crisis, but one of the things that, I haven't heard you talk about is the poverty situation. We are getting reports from Borno State that there are people who haven't been receiving salaries There are people who have been paid between 8 and 15,000 naira. And then whether that is true or not, just that poverty dynamic and how it is a recruitment ground for these terrorist organizations. Do you see any sort of solution? Because if the governor is telling us, this was the last time I heard someone say this, we are losing ground to terrorists, it was many years ago. If in 2025, a governor is saying this again, and then we're seeing violence, it's almost like coordinated violence across the country by these non-state actors. Is there a way to rein this in right now? Or have the chickens come back to roost again and there's nothing we can do about it?
Well, thank you very much. Of course, there are a lot of things we can do about it. If we are very serious about it, we can do a lot. When the governor says we are losing ground, what is he actually saying?
Are we losing territory? Yes. Is that what he's saying?
Because when you look at the Boko Haram situation, when they first came, they were trying to form caliphates in the Northeast. They were going around, taking over local governments, putting their flags in there, and then, of course, trying to create caliphates. And, of course, the government of Jonathan, remember when he wanted to run, when they wanted to run an election, and about 7 local governments were taken. And they cannot, because by the INEC rules, if they go ahead and have that election without 7 local governments, then the results are not going to be credible. Everybody must be represented. And what he did was go ahead and get a PMC, a private military contracting company, to flush all of them out, in a very short period. And we had our elections. Now, we have taken over those local governments. We had our elections. We've been going around. Boko Haram was scattered. They were hit and run. They do hit and run now. And right now, you heard what the Shehu of Borno was saying, El Kanemi, that there are 3 local governments that are gone. You can't go there. They've been taken over by Boko Haram. 3 of them. That means we're losing grounds again. That's where the governor is saying that we're losing grounds.
I mean, Mr. Makri, I've listened to you talk about this, and I want to be able to get your thoughts on some thought processes out there. Some people actually think this is political in nature. Do you think so?
Yes, I would say that there is a political angle to it. There's for it to persist to this extent, there's a political angle to it.
Well, not necessarily the persistence over the years. What I mean is, as we look forward to 2027, some people have posited that there are political dynamics to the instability you're seeing in this part of the country, like it has some sort of political ramification for 2027.
Well, I don't know if the government is actually waiting for 2027 before they flush them out. Then we can say, oh, yeah, the government did very well in doing it. But remember, our territorial integrity is at question right now. And the reputational risk is very, very high. So are we going to allow these people to continue doing what they are doing? Every Nigerian has to feel secured. Why don't we, in fact, move all those soldiers, the troops we have in Rivers State doing emergency state of emergency to Borno State? Because that has been, done before, and it solved the problem. I think that's why we need a state of emergency right now, and then, of course, thinking about the bandits in the Northwest and North Central. I think these are areas that we can do. Then, there is no serious problem going on in River State where we will say, let's send all our troops in there. And we are thinly spread. We don't have a large army that will say, oh, let's use this to, gauge where the problem is coming.
That's a very interesting dynamic that you mentioned there, but I want to stay on that. A state of emergency in Borno?
Yes.
The appointment of a sole administrator?
We've done it before. We've done it before. And this time, you don't have to remove the governor, because I think Governor Zulum is doing a fantastic job. He's one of the most serious governors in Nigeria today, because he's been through the thick and thin of it. You know, he can be there. Let the military take over the other kinds of operations in making sure that they are there to clear out these bandits or terrorists or whoever they are. You know, I know that the Nigerian military is a very well-trained, you know, well-equipped too army, because there is not these ragtag guys that we see there that are going to, you know, be dealing with our army that we have to now say, oh, we can't fight them again, let's use a political solution.
When you say political solution, because that's another conversation in this matter. When we say we're looking for a political solution to the terrorist attacks in Borno and in Kebbi and in a lot of the states that we're seeing these things coming up again so disappointingly, what does a political solution mean?
Well, when you want to do a political solution, we can look at what is happening. We can benchmark with what is happening in other areas. What is happening in Ethiopia, you know, for instance, where the Fano militias are, you know, very strong in the Tigray region, and the central government is finding ways of trying to talk with them and then, you know, find a solution to it. If we're talking about Borno, Plateau State, what happened there, I think, you know, a political solution would be to bring all the warring parties together and talk to them properly and get commitments from them. And then, of course, in Borno State, you know, we have tried all kinds of, you know, you hear all these kinetic, non-kinetic, and all those kind of stuff. But that is not solving the problem, you know. So what is the real issue there? You know, you talked of poverty. You know, you talked of poverty, inequality. You know, people are not getting anything from their governments or from their states. You know, it is not taking bags of rights or you know, going as palliatives are given to people when they are attacked. How about educating them? You know, educate these people, because you find out that even our democracy is not going to work very well if people are not well educated, you know. So,
I mean, before we wrap up, Mr. Makri, I want to get your thoughts on what the National Security Advisor has been saying. He has said it in 2 places now, and he's always talking about the people. Yesterday, in Plateau State, he said, we have to do this together. The communities have to help us as well. Then when we saw the return of the kidnapped victims yesterday, what the National Security Advisor said was, stop paying. You're enabling bad behavior. Stop paying these people. After you pay, we still have to go and rescue these people. Just your thoughts on that, you know, that thought process from the National Security Advisor, where he's looking at communities and the responsibility that the people have to stop this situation.
You know, I sometimes I get worried when the National Security Advisor will say that, because, you know, there has been an announcement by the president saying that there should be no ransom payment. No ransom payment, but at the same time, ransom is being paid. You know, just some few days ago, I was reading about some generals who went and wrote in the paper that they actually contributed money to go and release General Shiga, who was taken hostage.
The military debunked it. The military said that was fake news. They said this was not true.
It is fake news, thank God, because I was very worried. I was very worried if that press statement was correct. You know, so if the military debunked it, thank God, because I cannot foresee a situation where, you know, generals have to go and pay money to release another general. But this is what we are facing. Now, to come back to what the National Security Advisor was saying, we need to. You tell people not to pay ransom. Fine. The United States government does not negotiate with terrorists, and they don't pay anybody. Although sometimes you find out that, you know, by third parties or whatever, things are being done. But if somebody takes, we've still not addressed the issue of kidnapping in Nigeria. We've not. Because if somebody is taken hostage, do we sit down and wait for them to make a call so that we can negotiate and then go and, you know, what is the government department in the police, for instance, that I can call right now if my relative is taken hostage? Who can I call? And what is the response? Will they go ahead and say, okay, don't pay, don't do anything, don't worry, we take over this case and we are going for them, and they go there and bring them out? So you find out
those are the key questions, Mr. Makri, big questions to ask, because also yesterday the NSA received some people who were released from the captivity of kidnappers, and he was busy asking Nigerians not to pay ransom when, you know, their loved ones are kidnapped. And, you know, these were the big questions that were on people's minds. How swiftly do security agencies respond when reports like this reach their ears? In General Shiga's case, and those who were, like I say, presented at the time that he was, they were in captivity for up to 54 days, over 50 days. Yesterday, even the people that were presented, they were there for 90 days, according to some of them who spoke to the press. So there are big questions around the capacity of states to be able to really push itself and assert itself as the government, you know, that is willing to really fight for the security and the well-being of the Nigerian people. But we're almost, as a matter of fact, I don't know whether you want to quickly say something about that.
Yes,
but yes, quickly, in 30 seconds or less.
You just said it, you know. If NSA wants people not to pay a ransom, please, there should be a standby force across the country to pursue these people, because the bandits are relaxed. They are, you know, you see them counting the money, playing, joking about it, and we just allow it to go and wait for the next time. If we are not going to pay ransom, then we should have response team, very quick response team that will respond in cases of kidnapping and ransom.
Well, Mr. Dennis Amakri, it's always a pleasure to have you on the program this morning. Thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Dennis Amakri is the ex-director of the Department of State Services, and he joined us via Zoom from New York. Thank you once more.
Thank you for having me.
Well, we'll be talking about how the security situation affects the production of food. How does it impact food security? In just a moment, please stay with us. Yesterday, something very significant happened in Kaduna State. The launch of the special agro-processing zones was launched, and Kaduna was the first state to have, witnessed that quite a number of millions have been invested in those special agro-processing zones, which are being facilitated with the help of the African Development Bank. Well, how would that help food security, and what exactly will be the impact of insecurity on some of these investments? We're hoping that it will be totally isolated, but someone who will have an idea, who's been in that industry, is joining us this morning in our studios. Mr. Jerry Olarewaju is the team lead, Jet Farm and Agro Solutions Limited. Thank you so much for coming on Sunrise Daily. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Yeah, good morning, Nigeria.
So yesterday, this was what we saw, the launch of the SAPZ. It's been a long time coming, the talks around it, investments going on around it, and with the vice president there, with the governor of Kaduna State, the first in the series of 8 states. I'm sure you've heard about it before now.
Yeah, it's been a vision that has been in the mind of Dr. Akinwumi Adesina for the past 11 years. 11 years? Yeah, 11 years. And it has been something that he has wanted to start even while he was the Minister of Agric, but the thing did not come to actualization. But when he went to the African Development Bank, where he had a bigger capacity to do this, and he had home at heart, and it's like the home, the Nigerian, that's where it comes from, should be able to take up this vision and actualize it, because it's going to transform the agricultural landscape, it's going to transform the whole economy, going to transform everything around food security, going to transform a lot of things from even from job creation to solving the problem of unemployment to several other things, and I think it's a very good one.
Those are the hopes for it. As a farmer, are you excited about it?
Yes, I'm indeed excited, because it's really converting, it's really putting what we call value to whatever I've been doing. Over the years, I've been farming as a young guy, and one of the things that pains my heart is to see that we take our raw materials and we just export it out. We export our raw ginger, we export our raw soya beans, we export our raw maize. As we export those raw materials, we're losing jobs from people that will process, to people that will do the marketing, to people that will do the packaging, to people that a number of opportunities within that value chain. It's been explained. As a farmer, I say, oh, this is an opportunity. I don't need to export my raw ginger. I'm going to employ more than 10 people, 20 people, 100 people in my own hub. Another person is going to employ another 100 persons. We're going to, and according to SAPZ, they're going to create over 60,000 jobs. And I think this is a very laudable opportunity for Nigeria to take it with all their hands, grab it with all the opportunity, and ensure that even before Dr. Akinwumi Adesina going to leave this his tenure, people to see how they harness the opportunity of their son being represented at the African Development Bank.
So this is where we are now. This has now been launched in the first phase, and well, is the first. Kaduna is the first in the first 8 states that are going to. I think Cross River is next. Cross River is next. You are not exactly located within the SAPZ zone, are you?
Yeah, so I'm located because
You're in Chikun local government?
I'm not in Chikun local government. I'm in Kaduna, Kaduna State. I farm within the Kachia Axis and also Kagaruku and Koi. I work with a number of farmers there, so I'm not the only one. I work with a number of our organization works with over 2,000 farmers within that southern Kaduna side. Yes, the SAPZ location was posted to Chikun local government, but it doesn't matter because it's worse than you saying you're carrying your raw material down to Lagos or taking it to Dubai. You know, it's so interesting. If I tell you the story of what even made me happy about this thing was when I had the opportunity to go to the UAE, and I asked one of the people that buys commodity from us, and he told me clearly that, see, guy, I asked him, what do you do with all this raw material I sent to you? And he told me clearly that I just process it, grind it, and package it to Europe, and they use it for their raw materials. I do try to serve the oil, and they get it for this thing. And I say, oh, that's all what you do. And I sell it to you at $1,005, and you make over like more than 3 times the money. Sell it to 5,000 to the European market. Why we're losing that money, why we're losing that FX. I think it's a very good opportunity for us here. No matter how the distance is between the local governments, we can still achieve it here.
Oh, wow. So that's certainly very, heartwarming to hear. But there are those who are also afraid, because here we are now talking about, we just spoke about insecurity before the comments, in the previous segment. And I'm wondering, do you have any fears with regards to, just how that can impact such a laudable project as this?
Yes, I won't say I don't have fears, because I've had my own share of experience of insecurity. I've had my own share of, how will I put it now, troubles within the insecurity space. For this project, yes, there are fears of insecurity. Everybody's afraid, because we're just coming out from different troubles around people being kidnapped in different areas. I've had my own share, and I realized that in this particular place, you don't You don't give fear. As a business person, you take it as a risk. But one thing I think the government should do also to ensure that is to allow that place where he has assigned as an SAPC should be partnered with the security initiative, the security outfit from the NSCDC to the Army, to everyone that should be part of that unit, so that we have the confidence that we can go there and process. We can go there and do our activities without fear of this thing. Yesterday we were coming back and I saw the number of convoy that was following us when we were coming. I was like, you can't cross here in the night. You can't even drive here in the night. You can't say, oh, you want to do night duty. It's a very big fear. So I think it's something the government should look into. It's much better than the previous administration. I can tell you the previous administration was very, very worse. You can't pass that place as at the time we passed it yesterday.
What place exactly?
That's the Chinku local government down to even Abuja. That's the Kaduna-Abuja road.
Okay.
It's a very, very, well, I don't know the EIA test they have done to actualize that.
So Chikun local government area, in your view, is a little safer?
Yeah, you can see Olam there. Olam is there, and Olam has been operating there for a number of years.
You know what's interesting? As a reporter, Mark, many years ago, I had the privilege of actually going to the SAPC zones in Kaduna State. We went to Tomato Jos, where she's hiring people from the community to do, and then, of course, the Olam farm that you're talking about. And then, of course, in Kano as well. The groundnut processing group. And I remember one of the things you mentioned right now is that we keep exporting things that we should be refining. Sesame seeds. There's a massive sesame seed market in that Kano. And we saw them selling these sesame seeds in big bags across, sending it to China because the processing method was not here. But you know, I want you to be able to speak to what can be done to improve the processing of these things so that we stop exporting, because sesame seeds really upset me because we buy sesame oil at exorbitant prices here.
Buy cookies.
Yes. Cookies. Meanwhile, it's such a resource. It's a big market in Kano where they sell sesame seeds. How can we shore up our refining capacity in these areas? And I want you to speak to the security bit. Because you farm ginger.
Yeah, I farm ginger.
So you're in that ginger belt that when we're traveling to Jos, the whole road smells like ginger.
Exactly.
So let's talk a little bit about the security in those areas and how this administration can help farmers like you grow more and export more. Yeah,
so let's start from the area of processing, where you talk about the opportunities in processing and how it kind of gets better. So for me, I'm also a processor. I realized that when I got that nudge from that person that I was exporting to, I told myself, hey, guy, come to your senses. This is opportunity. I was working with farmers alone. I've left out secondary school university students. I've left out women that can do this process. And I said, okay, if I do this, I can. In the past 8 months that I started, I've recruited almost 16 people, coppers, rural people around the area. And I tell you, I don't need that big money. I believe in starting small, thinking big. I learned from the situation of South Korea and the issue of India. Starting small, I had just my 1 million savings. I bought my blender, I bought the raw material, and I started this small. From blender, I went to having a better grinding machine. From a better grinding machine, I went into getting a sachet packaging machine. From there, I went step by step. So we don't need those big money to say I want to get this thing. Start from those your cottage meal. So government should see how you can invest into. I had opportunity. I think I want to say it clearly, and such as what the SAPC said. Abacha did it in 1999 or 1998, if I'm right, I think around 1992, where they formed what we call the TIC. I'm not sure about the date, but TIC. The TIC, they call it the Technology Incubation Hub. And I will tell you that has been helping entrepreneurs as an innovation hub where they can hub. So we see all those people that do system seed and everything. If I tell you system seed is one of the biggest exports than even ginger.
Oh, yes. It's
the biggest export of in Nigeria among the non-oil products. And I tell you that we are losing billions of naira because the extract of sesame seed is numerous. From your cake, to your biscuits, to your cookies, to your oil, to your cream, to everything, all you do. There's a lot of opportunity within that space. And we're losing people. I think the highest thing I've seen Nigerian does is just to clean it. And that's not. So talking about
polishing.
Polishing. No, they don't even really polish in Nigeria. What you see in Kano is they do grading. They just do grading, that grading machine and everything. Quickly talking about the insecurity. For me, I am a solution-driven person. I believe I've told myself I'm a global problem solver, a problem solution giver. For government to come in, for people like me to farm, and not to allow another high prices of food, because that was caused high prices of food in the last time. Number one, you need to encourage cluster farming. Let me tell you the secrets behind that. When you bring people together, you tell them, you as a government start by clearing large masses of land, bring people together, tell them, give them the resources within that area, get them the irrigation facility, get them the, not necessarily seedlings and everything, all those small fertilizer, no. Get them the facility, the infrastructure around that area, the security also around that area. These people form together before any forces can come in to come and attack them. They also have their prepared forces to be able to attack, to replace this thing with their security. So it's not that the reason why you see they kidnap farmers, they attack farmers, is because farmers does this thing in little silos. They do it in a subsistence farming. They do 0.5 in one bush. You see somebody doing it in another place. So that's the reason why we are failed in this thing. They do, in California, where I think I've seen pictures and everything, I can tell you clearly that this guy do it in large hectares, and you see family doing hundreds of hectares, this one doing. So if something want to happen, before government even try to do something or anybody come try to do something, they have the strong backing of the network of the people they are working together with. And I tell you, it's going to solve a number of problems. That cluster farming and bringing farmers together is going to solve insecurity problems.
Kela, I don't know if you heard when he said that, he's also had his own experience.
Yes.
I heard you say.
What did that mean?
Had your own experience with insecurity.
Yeah, so it's one of the interesting parts I'm always shying away about, because anytime I remember it, it's not a very interesting event. I'm a young guy. I finished school. I never studied Agric. I love passion. I went to solve the food problem. I saw a problem when I was in university, and I thought I wanted to solve it. I left the shores of Ile-Ife, Osun State, to come to Kaduna State. I saw opportunity in Ginger. I was making few money, and because I was helping farmers, I raised investment, and I reached out to these farmers, and I said, okay, I want to work with you. At the point of harvest, where I was supposed to collect my output back, so I reached out to these farmers to reach their places. It was very difficult, and I took the risk. I've always been a risk. For me to even leave Lagos or the south to come down, it was a risk already. I went down there. As I was going, it was very interesting. I landed into the outfit of these guys.
The kidnappers?
Yeah, they were on the road. They're always on the road. So people have warned me already not to go down there. Like on the road, I was going down there in the bush, and not really in the bond. It's a pathway. That's a very big farming.
What area is that?
Yeah, if you I've heard of Laduga in Kaduna State. Yeah. It's around that crossing area, Laduga, and it's so interesting to see that area produces very good ginger, very good ginger, and the people that are farming there are Fulanis. And because I wanted to expand my reach, to say, okay, I can work in it, there's another place they call Awon. So it was when I got feedback from my farm. I was trying to expect a farmer to send his crop back, and I saw that this guy was not sending his crop back. And I said, okay, how can I leave this money with this guy? He took a large amount of input. I said, I want to get my harvest back. I said, I want to take this and go and meet him. Funny enough, I heard that they destroyed his house. They have told them that they must pay ransom before, they must pay tax. I don't know whatever tax they call it, but they must pay something before they can come and harvest their farm. The guy said he doesn't have money. I even collected that money from a loan person that someone gave him as a loan and everything. I went to meet as I was about to meet the guy, that's when I got into there. But I will tell you that the way I came out is still what we call the miraculous. I know a lot of people might not really understand it. If you don't understand, I'm a spiritual person. So when I entered, I saw those guys in front, and they asked me, what am I going? I speak just very little Hausa, and we had that interaction. I was like this and that. Somebody just say, hey, guy, Jerry, let's go. As we're going, guy, I don't know how the thing did not reach me. I don't know how did this thing, but I escaped, found myself back in my house. I found by myself, I packed my load.
And you left. But you went back again.
So I went back again.
But you went back again and you did not give up.
I had 2 incidents.
Yes.
There was one in Nasarawa, in our 300 hectares farm. We're going to the farm, and funny enough, we heard that they were eating our farms. We had 300 hectares.
What is it, they were like cows were in your farm eating up your crops?
So let me tell you this. You see these cow rustlers, they came from, I don't know where they're coming from. So they come from the Sahel, coming down. You don't know their origin, you don't know where they are going to. And the fact is that they were coming, and somebody told us that they were eating a part of our farm. Someone that was coming from the bush. He said, these guys have started eating your farm. And I said, let us go and sit. Because it was very far. Because I have not gone there. I had a farm manager that has been managing this thing. And we went there and you see these small boys. Unfortunately, we never knew that they are our gas on this thing. The way we escaped there too was also the miraculous.
Oh, Mr. Jerry, I really did wish you had a little more time. What I want to know is that has not deterred you.
Yeah, it hasn't.
It hasn't. You still go to the north very frequently?
I still went yesterday.
You still? Even though that was with heavy security.
Yeah, with heavy security. That's because I was with Entourage.
Yes, but you usually go by yourself, you know.
Yeah, very well, very much. I'm still going to go this week.
So you'll encourage young people to do same?
Yeah, please do. Don't be afraid. For me, I just believe that it's a period of time. I know one of these days this thing will evolve, and we believe that. I believe with the innovative system, the way the government is trying to do. I've heard of the Agro-Rangers. So wonderful initiative. It's just that we just see them just in very few pocket places.
So they need to do better in that.
They need to do better, yeah.
Well, we have to thank you so much for coming on the program. Mr. Jerry Olariwaju is the team lead, Jet Farm and Agro Solutions Limited, and also an agro-entrepreneur.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for coming on the program.
Thank you very much.
Well, that's where we leave the program off this beautiful Wednesday morning. We hope it's also beautiful at your end, and we also hope that you've been encouraged to take risks, be daring. Thank you for watching. I'm Maokwe Ogun Yusuf.
It's midweek. I'm Kayla Magwa. Have a great day ahead.